Blues in the name, where I'm from, and I'm a furniture artist. No one will know me here because I've only filmed 2 shows so far, and I think my understanding is that they're coming out in March, I think. I filmed with Jackie. So, yeah, I may also not be here this time next year.
Hi, I'm Neil Ragg. I remember seeing an episode on series 1 of Money for Nothing and just tweeted the programme. And they just got back to me and said, would you like to come on board? So from series 2, I thought, yeah, how hard can it be? But no, they do throw you a lot of curveballs. It has been quite a challenge. But yeah, that was series 2. And I think we're on something like series 11 now. So it's been a great show to be part of, definitely.
Hi, I'm Leigh-Anne. I run Bristol Upholstery Collective, which is an upholstery school. I like to collaborate with artists, and I love bringing people together. Hence why this has happened. I think it's part of what I do every day. I think I've been filming since series 3, and I think we're on series 13 now. So that might be 10 series.
That's the celebrity one.
And the celebrity one, that was a good one. I think I took Hilary Devey's daybed and sawed its legs off and made that massive swing. Do you remember? We had 6 of us on that swing. So how did everyone get into TV then? And if there are any other shows going on, how do you end up on that square thing that everyone watches and admires?
Well, as my one was just a tweet, so honestly it was a case of, I don't know, not saying no to an opportunity, Just say yes and see what happens.
Mine was through my friend Simeon, who's a very talented upholsterer up in Manchester, and he just kept on mithering the production team, saying, "You've got to meet her, she's fabulous." And eventually they called me, so yeah, here I am. It's fantastic. Yeah, I'll always say yes.
Yeah.
When we got approached by Money for Nothing to do the pilot, we were really, really quite unsure about it because we'd done a TV show before called High Street Jeans. It was with Joe Malone. And it was one of those shows where it was really kind of all about exposing you and setting you up to kind of... Yeah, setting you up to fail and, the whole kind of production of it was that style. And so when Money for Nothing came to us, we were like, no, we've been down this road. It is not fun. And they're really keen to do it. So they said, we're just going to do the pilot and we'll see where it goes from there.
And they did say it's a feel-good thing. It's not, it's promoting, positivity and stuff like that. So and it was great. It was really great to work with the guys, the team, and worked well.
Yeah. So that's how we started.
It's fun as well because we do quite big commissions that take a long time, months and stuff. So doing something quick, it still takes a couple of weeks, but it's a challenge to be bought something completely different and then think, wow, what are we going to turn that into? That was really fun as well, doing those, testing the sort of brain power.
So how I got into TV is I did a TV programme for Channel 4, and so it was French Collection. So I worked with a guy called Mark Franks, and we went down to France, we bought stuff, brought it back, did it up. And then I did another one that did Barbie Hunt of all things, and then I met Ray at Grand Design. We were doing an event at Grand Design, we had a chat, and he said, why don't you get on this programme? They really like it. So anyway, so I emailed the team, and the quite funny thing, I was going over to Canterbury, and this number flashed up on my phone. I was quite aggressive for the call, because I just thought it was PPI. I think, I don't recognise this number. Who are you? And I'm thinking, and they go, this is the team from Money for Nothing. Would you like to do a screening? I went, my whole changed from there, really. So I did a screening and, got on the show from there. And obviously, my first thing I did with you, wasn't it? We did the photograph. Yes. And it's what you don't see. You get pictures. You get sent these pictures, don't you guys, of what, and you go, what, So it's the other role reversal. Someone like Jay, who's at the dump, and go, actually, I've got inspiration. And then you've got to pick on that inspiration and go, oh, yeah, I see the vision and stuff like that. Yeah, that's what I've been since.
I'm just going to switch your mic. That's all right. Can I give you that one? Sorry, mate. Thanks. Cheers.
Right. Now I think about it, I'm not sure who put me on to Money for Nothing, but I do remember having completed a couple of shows for Channel 4. One was Kevin's Supersized Challenge, where there was basically like a commercial airliner chopped up into pieces in Wembley, and I was part of a team that had to take all the parts and recycle them into industrial bits of furniture. And then there was another show that I did. You know what? I don't know. I'm sure you've got something to do with it. I don't know. I think you might have had something to do with it. I think you might. Yeah. So Joe put me forward basically, and that's and yeah. I did the first show I did was this post World War II like armchair, and I actually designed, and it gave me an opportunity to actually design and bring to print one of my own illustrations, and that was the monkey designs that you might have seen. And when that show went out, I mean, the piece didn't sell by the time the show had aired, but it had sold literally the day after it had aired, and I just didn't look back since. The kind of response I've had has been phenomenal. It's been amazing. So yeah. That's how
it's a weird one for me because I don't really feel like I am someone that works in TV, like the question sort of says. But yeah, I think it's Leigh-Anne I've got to thank for passing my kind of work on to the team, I think. I still don't know, actually. She's looking at me like...
I might have given your name to somebody.
But I got a call out of the blue. I've only been doing this business for 2 years. So to get a call like that was a real sort of big confidence boost for me. And as I say, none of the episodes have aired, but the process so far has been brilliant. And there's 4 pieces coming in spring. So yeah, I can't really answer it too well, but it's exciting.
I have no idea how I got on the show. I got a call from a Glasgow number and ignored it, thinking it was it was a scammer. And then it went to voicemail and it said money. I said, that's another scammer. That's definitely not true. So I rang them back and they asked me to do a screen test, which I did. And I was on the next series. And the first chair that came in was with Sarah, I think it was, and it was a blue carver dining chair, Louis-style carver dining chair. And like you say, you get a picture. I was like, okay, I think I know what I'm going to do with this. It came in and every joint was loose. It literally was rubbish. But we turned it into something quite nice, I think. And I'm very proud. I've got a 100% sale rate on everything at the moment. So fingers crossed, it carries on like that.
Hi. I'm not sure if anyone put my name forward or not. But Money for Nothing is a bit of a dream, really. I just got a call from them, from the blue, and I think it was probably they'd seen my work on social media or on Etsy, and I'd just say if you ever want to do anything like that, just make sure you take a good photograph, because it's got me where I am now, to be honest. And I think my first piece was for Jay, actually. It was the tall boy. It was a really nice mid-century tall boy, which I couldn't believe was at the tip. To be honest, it was one of the good ones, wasn't it? So you're very kind to me on my first show. But yeah, it had like an abstract design on the front. I like to be quite creative in my work. But yeah, I didn't expect to be in television. It sounds weird even saying it, but yeah, I'm in series 13 now, and I've enjoyed it. It's built my confidence, and I think my work has grown, and I think every project just throws a challenge, doesn't it? It challenges you, and it makes you better at what you do. So yeah, thank you for coming, everybody.
It's definitely, I remember the phone call that I got and thinking, Glasgow, I don't know anyone in Glasgow. And they called up and said, hey, we're calling for Money for Nothing. Have you seen the show? And I said, funnily enough, my mum has made me watch it. And you did, didn't you, Mum? You just sat me down and was like, you've got to watch this show. It's got upholsterers in it doing weird stuff, and just like what you do. And I remember thinking, well, I know loads of upholsterers. I don't need to watch a show about upholsterers. So at first I was like, oh, not more. And then I thought, wow, this is actually really quite groundbreaking to have this on TV, and that creativity and playing with your skills. And so I said, yeah, sure. And at the time, the Collective was kind of home to, I think it was 6 different upholsterers that were all being incubated in the space in the Collective. And so we had the, what do you call it, the kind of, the video call where they did the test. What's it called? Screen test, yeah. And I had to put my computer far away. We all crowded in so we could do this screen test. And the first ever project, it was Sarah. She brought me a 3-piece suite. It was blue, ugly thing. And she said, what are you going to do with it? And that was when the Love Tub was born. I don't know if you guys know the first project. It's got its own hashtag. Look it up. #LoveTub. And it was inspired by when you put the armchairs together as a kid and you sit in there and have your sleepovers or whatever, and that kind of fun. And talking about going above and beyond for your first TV show, I think I needed about 3 days worth of physio afterwards because I really overdid it. Pulled an all-nighter, and on that last kind of part of the episode where Sarah comes to pick up the item and she sees it, and I can see the pain in my eyes, so like my arm's hanging up, and she's like, "You're gonna miss it." No, take it. And I've lost count now how many projects we've done. Has anyone else gone above and beyond?
Yeah, I pulled an all-nighter once. There was one project where it just wouldn't go right, because sometimes it doesn't, even though you have time. It just, the vintage furniture is just, it throws up problems, doesn't it, that you don't expect. And then I think you worry because it's going to be on the telly, because the pressure is immense, really, isn't it? You think, oh, is anyone going to like it? Have I done a good job? But yeah, I worried and worried and worried. This was in the early days, and I did all night. So there is an episode, you might be able to tell by the bags under my eyes, but yeah, there is an episode where I had no sleep. So has anyone else had done an all night?
I've definitely been finishing just as they're putting the batteries in the mic, and I'm still slip stitching or sewing. So there's definitely some last minute.
Quite often I'm like, can you film from this angle because it's all pinned still at the back.
I'm not sure it's a healthy way to look at it, but like when I think back, those like all-nighters that like you sometimes tend to do, and then you get to the. I think about the overall process, and I think, yeah, actually, that's actually quite good. It forces you to actually make decisions like really quickly and like not deliberate, because I tend to be quite a perfectionist about what I do, and if like left unattended, I could like sometimes spend hours deliberating over a particular process or technique. But then like those moments where you know the cameras are coming, you know you've got to have it there on camera, it just sharpens you up. So in a way, it has been really good for the craft, being able to like put out good quality work and be really quite disciplined with yourself about how you want it to look.
There's no room for self-doubt, is there?
Yeah.
Get on with
it.
Just
get on with it. Yeah, loads of self-doubt.
No, I was going to say, when they asked me to be on the programme, I thought, well, this is what I already do. I'm already making bags, and it's all upcycling. It's from old leather sofas, tents, that kind of thing. So I thought, well, as long as they just bring me leather sofas, it will be fine. So you've brought me a black leather sofa. Thank you very much. More than welcome. That's wonderful. And then I get a rubber boat from Louise Minchin. And I think that's not... so yeah, it's been some bizarre things. You know, deck chairs, okay, it's got some fabric in, but a bicycle has no fabric. Why? Where did you think I would get a needle through a bicycle? Thank you. No. That was Sarah, and it's, yeah, it really does make the creative juice. There's an episode not been shown yet with a vintage golf cart, and I really enjoyed that one. There was hardly any sewing, bizarrely, because sometimes they do say to you, maybe not a bag this time. I think, well, that's what I do, but okay, let's think out of the box. So yeah, you're always thinking out of the box, to be honest.
Yeah, I'd say exactly. I sort of echo that, and I think there's a series not been aired yet, and it's literally Sarah just turned up with a load of wood, and it was a bundle of architrave had just been ripped out of a house, and it was really nice. It was a mahogany architrave, so really, really beautiful, and it was that point of what are you going to do with that, and what I really like about the show, and like Neil was just saying, that generally in my day-to-day job, I sort of take an antique, I put a light bulb on it, and sort of sell that. But what this really does, because my background is I'm a carpenter joiner by trade, and what I do is sort of extra and a designer and that sort of stuff. It really pushes my creativity, which I thank the show for. Otherwise, I think sometimes I become quite staid in what I do, and I sort of like go down the general path of less resistance. And actually what the show really does is like, go, here's a bundle of bits, get on with that. And I think that's a really good part of the show. So,
I remember one time we were given a spring, a car spring. And car springs are great for blacksmiths because it's great steel for making tools out of. But it's a pig to try and work with. Yeah, Vex's idea was to unravel the entire car. Yeah, we unraveled it in the fire. It took forever. It was so hard. And I just kept saying to her, why are we doing this? Because we've got a whole rack of straight steel. Yeah. And she's like, no, we've got to do it. I was like, well, no one will know. Can't we just say that?
And then if you get, it's different to normal steel. If you get it a bit too hot, it just breaks. And it did. It was in the fire and it just went dunk. We're like, oh no. Then we're like, oh, let's turn that into a feature.
Yeah, but no, so that is the car spring. She insisted that we unravel the whole thing and use it, and we did. So in my book, that was going over and above the required work.
So, I mean, obviously, all these projects are not the usual ones that a customer would come through your front door of your business establishment saying, hey, can you transform this for me? So how do you go about pricing these things?
Oh dear.
And do you stick to your budgets, or do you kind of do that, it's in budget?
I think this is the problem with Money for Nothing, in that it undervalues the craft, and I don't think any of us are doing any favours to our crafts by pricing the work that none of those prices reflect the true cost and work that goes into it. None of them. But there's a pressure to...
We want to promote. We're given a platform.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I don't have a lot to say. I would agree with everything you've just said. I would add, though, that I think the general public are a bit savvy to this as well. I think they realise how much effort we all put into the pieces that we create. So, yeah, you're right. Carry on, as you were saying.
Well, no, I mean, that was it, really. It is something that you've got to be careful that we don't undervalue our crafts, and it's something that we've got to look out for.
It's interesting that we're having this conversation, because it was when I was approached and I had my screen test, it was the one thing that I had a conversation about, very frank conversation, which was I've worked so hard to kind of evolve my little business to a point where I'm actually making a living. I can charge what I need to charge for the price for the pieces of furniture. The very last thing I need now is to promote myself in a way which is going to devalue my work. Absolutely. All of my work is commission-based, without fail these days. Yeah. And I just thought, how am I going to juxtapose that? If I've got commission customers that are paying the correct amount of money for that piece of work, because it's taken me a week to do, and I've fitted it into their own interior design scheme. I've done a lot of work behind the scenes to make sure that it works with their aesthetic. And there has to be a value to that. So yeah, for me, it's an experiment, because I just didn't, I'm very fortunate. The first two pieces I've done sold straight away, and for not too bad. Probably about 20% under what they should be.
Right, okay.
Yeah. But I think for me, it's work in progress for the show.
Obviously it promotes us all really well, so there is that advertising element to it. I tend to do such wild stuff that my customers would never ask for. Actually, it has inspired a couple of people to come in and say, hey, I've got this office chair that I sit in, but my dog takes up most of it, so I'm perched on the front. Can you extend my office chair? And what, to fit the dog on? Sure, okay. So there's been a couple of projects like that, and I've had to actually, when they've come in, it's not a regular armchair that you'd have it on your price list, I've had to say, do you know what, I'm going to treat it like Money for Nothing. I'm going to give myself a budget, and then I'm going to work to that. And I'm like, so there's a risk there. Obviously, you've seen the show, as to how it's going to turn out and what kind of design features it's going to have to accommodate for that budget that you're striving for. So I tend to work really fast on these things, which, you know, obviously then I'm like, last minute, isn't it, pulling it together? It kind of almost has to become a bit of a secondary thing alongside your business. It's been so creative in that sense. Even, I remember there was a new fabric I wanted to use, and it was over £100 a metre. And when you've got such a small budget in that sense of trying to make it saleable to have a profit at the end, I remember Sarah came in and she said, "What have you done to this?" It was a winged 3-seater sofa. "What made you chop the arms off and chop this bit off and chop that bit off?" I was just like, because it saves on money in fabric. There was no design element to it apart from, if I get rid of that, that saves me 300 quid. Get rid of that, that's another 200 gone. And then you end up designing and being really creative. Like when you're constricted in some way, sometimes that is the pressure point that creates absolute, like, wow, that was never going to happen unless under those, you know, like under a volcanic circumstance of pressure, and then poof. Yeah.
It was one of the reasons that I was a bit reticent about doing the show. But then on the other side of it, I was like, if I turn this down, where do I go from here? It would be so exciting to get upholstery out there even more. And I can't deny that it adds some sort of credibility with my customers. I've had a lot of flack in the upholstery arena, definitely, because obviously I am undervaluing the craft, it can be seen to be. But what it has done for me is it's helped me create my own brand now. So I've got another brand called Very Vintique where I sell my own chairs. And that's because through doing the show, I realised that the thing I really, really enjoy is I love doing the upholstery for other people, but it's always their design choice, whereas Money for Nothing gave me the opportunity to put my ideas onto a chair, and that is where now I'm progressing my business as well. So it's given me an extra arm to my business that I didn't have before.
That's gold, that as well, isn't
exactly,
it? Don't get a chance to do that very often when you're running a bespoke service. Can we go... Oh, sorry. Go on then, Jay. Yeah, go on.
Yes. When I was doing upholstery, and I'm very brave of you to bring up that question, because I think it's a question...
Everyone wants to know.
Who's it? Oh, right.
Get it out of the way.
I think for me, when I did Money for Nothing, I was an artisan and then became the presenter. And when I was presenting, the one thing that they wanted me to do was upholstery. And what I didn't want to do is upholstery. And the reason being is my chairs sell for a certain amount, and if I put it onto Money for Nothing, it would then cheapen my brand. So I made sure there was I was just chatting to Sharon about this earlier, I made sure there was a very distinctive kind of mark as into, all right, this is what I'll do for Money for Nothing, but this is what I'm going to do for my brand. Because if you look at my chairs, they're quite expensive. So there was no way for me to do what I do in the real world, let's say, for instance, and then do it in the TV world, and then justify to a customer, well, you've done it for blah, blah, blah on there, and now you're charging 3 times the amount. It doesn't make sense. So there was a very clear distinction between Money for Nothing and my brand. I knew that from the get-go, because I didn't want to cheapen it. Is the way that it can be done.
Why I try and be way out there. Like that, you won't find what I do on any price list for any upholsterers. I mean, you know, sticking armchairs together and chopping it off and making it look like something out of Beetlejuice. That's not going to happen any other time than this moment. So it's that differentiation, isn't it? Okay, I know that there's some burning questions, so should we go to the audience for a question?
It's on the same line as commissions. I'm someone who is starting to build my brand and getting in commissions, but I'm getting in commissions and people are asking me to like do a chair that is all one grey plaid or something, and that's not me at all. I really like out there colours and that sort of stuff. I'm struggling with, do I do it just for the money, or would you stick to your brand and say, no, thank you?
I'm a PR by trade. That's what I did for 25 years. And I know quite a lot about brand. And what I would say is, if at the beginning of your journey, you compromise, you're dead before you start. You've got to be true to yourself, even if that means you're broke, and you have to take a second job or just not eat for a couple of days or whatever it is. I think but I think all the brands I've worked with over the years, and that's a lot, they all say the same thing: be true to yourself, do not compromise. And I was very lucky because the way I started was I was still working in PR when I started my furniture upcycling. I didn't need the money. I was freelancing, thank you very much. I had my income coming in, I was paying my bills and looking after my children. So the furniture was just for fun, which meant that I never, ever had to produce anything that my premise is, do not make anything for somebody else that you wouldn't have in your own home. And I stick to that. I say no to commissions all the time now, or I will be quite bolshy sometimes and say, I'm afraid I don't like that idea, and I won't be doing it. And sometimes they'll walk away. Most of the time they don't.
I can't wait to see your episodes, Sarah.
No. I don't hold any prisoners. I feel like I'm just too old now, and I don't care anymore about what people think.
Well, no, that's listen. I wasn't going to say that you're too old, but that's cool. If that's personally, I would say I've done it when I was starting out, even before Money for Nothing and doing stuff for customers. I did stuff I was not proud of, stuff that I was still trying to identify my brand. So I called it the bread and butter work. This is work that you would never see on Instagram. I never really signed it. Someone would say to me, this is what I want you to do that for me. Cool, no problem. They have it, and that's it. I got a chance to pay the bill that I needed to pay. I understand what you're saying with regards to... Yeah, for me, it was about paying the bills. It's like I needed that bread and butter coming in. Yeah. And I'd done some work that was, for me, is rubbish. But it's what the customer wanted. And as they wanted something, they was willing to pay me for that. So it's like, cool. But when I designed my stuff, there's even been a couple of celebrities that have asked me, oh, you see that chair? I want you to do that on it. And I'm like, no, the chair is the way it is. You either buy it or you don't. Oh, don't you want my custom? No, not really, if you've got an attitude like that. So now I'm at a stage where I can do that. But at the beginning stages, no, I just got bread and butter. But I would never promote that stuff. It was what the customer wanted.
I think that's a good point, Jay. Yeah. I think that's a good point. I made a couple of compromises at the beginning, but you would never see it on social media, or I would just not. It would be like a quiet little dirty secret, like just take the money and run. That's, but I get. I mean, a lot of people, though, in my experience, Jay, are doing this as a secondary income at first. They might be doing another job and then start. And that's how it evolves. That's a really good way of starting, because it means that, it scares me to death. If I'd thought 5 years ago that I could give up my freelancing to try and make a living out of this, I'd be on the streets. Do you know what I mean?
There is different ways of viewing it. Like a lot of people, it's their second kind of income, so it's kind of like a hobby. A lot of people I know, this is their first income. Some people have just finished having but for a lot of people, they just finished having all the children, they've gone off to university, they've found and feel this bug of creativity and want to make a living from it. They want to contribute towards the household. So as it's the first time, it's kind of like you might understand that you want to start your own brand and there's an identity you have, but at the same time, you do want to contribute. So it is different for everybody who comes into it at different points within their life. I've lost the train of thought, but I thought it was on bread and butter. I think that's branding. Woo! Branding is one of those. I love branding because branding is the only thing that has kept me outside of everybody else. There's the only reason why people are looking at Jay Blades, because have you seen what he did with that chair? Have you seen what that fabric is? Have you understand what he's created there? That to me, it's a bit like Ray when he started designing and drawing his own personality into his artwork and then getting it printed onto a fabric. No one else can do that apart from Ray. No one else can do what these guys do apart from... They might copy. Listen, when you get people copying you, it's absolutely cool. But it's you who done it first. Yeah. You did it first. And it's the same with everybody up here. They've got their own brand, and it's like only they could offer you that. And their style is just cool.
But when I started doing what I was doing, or at least becoming more visual, more prominent, I didn't think about brand and things like this. I just wanted to, and I still do, it's really in the heart of what I do, just want to get really good at my craft or at the thing that I want to practice. And irrespective of whatever's going on around you, you just got to really focus on that process. If you need to go and get training, you're standing in one of the, there's schools popping up all over the place at the moment. It's just like, You've got to have the confidence and the humility to be able to just say, right, this is what I want to do, and I'm going to do it this way. And you've also got to be flexible about your ideas as well, because they will change over time. And then, like, if you need that training, go and grab the training that you need, and just feel good about the stuff you produce, and also feel humility that the first stuff you're going to produce isn't going to be that great, and no one's going to be interested in it. And that's okay too. So,
has anyone else here had a complete career change into the craft they're doing now? And how was that to make that jump? Because that's a scary moment, right?
I was doing web design before I was... So the bags was a hobby. And it started off with things like camping and repairing bags, and just seeing, the bags that I'd bought were falling apart or rubbish or didn't meet the need. So I would just repair them, then start making my own, and then you start making them as gifts. People will say, oh, you should sell these. You think, nah. So you do a market, and you just start doing local markets, and then you get them into shops, or you do London markets, that kind of thing. So you get your craft validated. But at the time, I got the phone call from the programme. I was helping out just a local school, and I had 30 laptops in front of me, all with the little egg timer staring back at me. And the phone call came, and they said, would you like to be on the programme and just be part of the team? And I looked at all these laptops and thought, definitely, yes, it's got to be better than this. And I think the programme is also, we talk about our responsibility to our craft. We've obviously got a responsibility to ourselves to not undervalue anything. But the programme also gives you another level of responsibility, which is, I do think, to inspire and to remember the programme is saving stuff from landfill, and there are other programmes obviously out there that have a greater depth than just simple daytime TV or panel shows or something like that. There are a few programmes out there that really do have a deeper message, and that gives us another responsibility to hopefully inspire. I've said a few times today that people I've met this morning, if you've got a sewing machine out just on the table that never gets put away, you'll repair more, you'll be more creative, it will inspire you, and you won't be afraid just to experiment and try and give something a go.
I think, I spoke to a couple of people about this before, and my story is, it's quite hard. I was out cycling one day and fell off a bike, bashed my head, and I used to be a school teacher, and I listened to Jay the other day, and my life story is very similar. It's like I left school with no qualifications, severely dyslexic, but I became a school teacher. How I winged that one, I do not know. Became a secondary school teacher, then actually became a primary school teacher, and how I did that, but for the longevity of that, I fell off my bike, bashed my head, and I had amnesia. And literally, it's quite scary. When you got amnesia, you don't know you got it. And like Lisa's in the audience, and she would say that. And I sat in Lisa's workshop, and I started making lights. And it's sort of, someone said to me, Lisa said to me, these are really, really good. You need to start selling it. And it's that time, and I went back to teaching, couldn't do it. I couldn't even remember kids' names. Like, if people are sitting in front of me going, who are these? And I don't know who they are. So it's like, I thought, I need to get out of this job. So it was for me, and like you were saying earlier about commissioned stuff will come to you. No one teaches you how to be a businessman. It's something, because we're all basically crafts people and actually now become businessmen. And it's like thinking, you have to take those jobs on you don't really want to do to make your business run. And I converted a coffee machine, a DeLonghi coffee machine, and put a light in it. It's not really my bag. I didn't really want to do it, but you have to do that to pay the bills. And it's a process, it's a journey. It's not until you go further up the food chain, if that's the right word to say, then you can start to sort of dictate and say, actually, I'm going to do this. If you want to buy a Duncan McKean light, it's going to look like this. And people are buying into your brand. And that is quite a privileged thing to do. But you've got, like Neil said, you had to do the markets, you've got to do, and I sort of think about it as doing the black cab journey. Become a black cab taxi driver. You've got to do the knowledge. You've got to go and do some fairs. You could sit there and not sell a thing, but you've got to do that. Your work's got to get validated. People look at you and you sell. And now I'm a very privileged guy. It's like Jay brought some Technics record players to me. I now ship them all around the world. And I sent one to Toronto quite recently, and it's literally, and I've talked to the people who order them and go, why? I said, well, I've seen them on the show, I really love them. But it's that validation, and it's you, as an artist, we're all artists, you wear your heart on the sleeve. And it's like you put your work out there, and sometimes it can go swimmingly, but sometimes you cross-analyse yourself and go, why is this not selling? It's sometimes not the right audience. But it's a hard, hard thing. What we do as artists, we put it out there. And it's being a school teacher. I used to look at my bank balance and go, that's all right, the money coming in next month, I got my money. Now you're self-employed. It's a rock and roll roller coaster. It's like the tax bill was due on Monday, isn't it, really? It's like thinking, and it's like, yeah, that's it, yeah. I'm waiting for the royalties of this show to get that ever, yeah. That's it, yeah. Yeah, and it's hard. It is hard, and it's not an easy ride. But I got an offer a teaching job, going back to a school teaching, and I looked at it, I'm thinking, do I really want to put myself through that again? And actually, I enjoy what I do. I really enjoy, and I get to work with these guys. I meet other guys as well, and it's a lovely. I feel privileged. I feel privileged to do what I want to do. You could say in some respects, you're living a dream, aren't you? Really, because you're doing what you want to do, and you're getting paid for it on a good day. And I love it. On a good day, we're getting paid, aren't we?
Tristan, I could see you nodding away there.
It's hard to follow that because you summed it up so perfectly. But yeah, like you, I've had a complete career change. So I was a primary school teacher, a primary head teacher, sorry. Yeah, I know. What? I know, it's crazy. And I kind of accomplished it really young, and I was kind of felt quite proud of that, and my career was looking like it was going in that direction. It all happened quite young, which wasn't anything to do with it really, but as a young head, you do feel like that kind of sense of pride, I guess. And I had quite a lot going on in my life 2 years ago, and just basically kind of realised it wasn't fulfilling me as a person. And I spent all my time giving myself, which is great because the kids are benefiting and whatnot. But I kind of realised, I can't see myself doing this until I'm whatever the retirement ages would have been for me, like 78 or whatever. So I just kind of thought, you know what, this is a bit of a crossroads in my life for many reasons, and I made the decision to have my notice in. I think it was June, for the end of that academic year, knowing that my last paycheck would be like August the 31st. So I had kind of 3 months to sort of really think what on earth I'm going to do. I could have gone to another school, but I think the same sort of issues would have multiplied and happened again, and I'd have been back to where I started. So I kind of threw away all of that training and that experience and the knowledge, and thought I need to do something completely different. Googled like life after teaching, what does a head teacher do? And it was really hard to sort of dig deep and think what is going to suit me. And my wife booked me onto a furniture painting workshop in Bath. And whilst I was off work at the time, and I was a bit like, it's not for me. It's just, I don't know. I've never painted a piece of furniture before. And she was like, no, it's really going to suit you. She could kind of see my creativity, I guess, even though I'd never done a piece of furniture per se. And I went on it and just absolutely fell in love with it immediately. As soon as I kind of started using the paints, I was just immediately captivated by it, and it kind of gave me hope at that kind of, not dark time, it wasn't that bad, but I wasn't very happy, to kind of think, I could do something different. So it was only after I'd handed my notice in that I then found this sort of new direction. So I was kind of working towards a September launch, if you like, just painting everything in sight, just doing as much as I possibly could to gain experience. And yeah, I haven't looked back since, but it's only been like 2 and a bit years. But I think going back to Courtney's question, it's you kind of you learn through your mistakes, as Joe was saying earlier. And I wasn't I'm not really even there yet, really, to be in a position to say no to stuff. And I think you have to say yes in the early stages to work out that you hate painting something grey or whatever it might be. And it's kind of, I sort of see life in chapters, so I'm kind of in this next chapter now, but even within this chapter, if I scroll back to my early work that I did put on social media, I wouldn't put it on now, like, no way. Sometimes I reshare stuff from a year or two ago, but some of it is like, it's awful, and but it makes you, real, and it's a journey, and I don't know, lots of people I speak to kind of have, and probably lots of you sat here, have a hobby, whether it's upholstery or furniture or whatever it might be, as well as a full-time job, and that you're kind of like, one day I'd love to be able to do this full-time, but I don't, maybe I'll go part-time and then do a little bit. And for me, it was the polar opposite, because I just had no choice, and I was thrown into it in the deep end. But you can't just create a whole repertoire of perfect pieces and then be ready to click kind of, okay, let's start this social media journey and website. You've got to keep going.
Go on, Ray.
Yeah.
Go on, Ray. I was going to say, like, you just touched on a point where you mentioned social media. I mean, I don't know how many of you out there all use social media, but you'd be forgiven for thinking the more you see all these perfect pieces online and stuff, that's what you should be producing and the standard you be, and it's just not the case. When I started, what got me into practicing upholstery was basically understanding that I needed to draw. I needed to express myself and draw and paint. And all it took was just a friend asking me, who trusted me to, she gave me a couple of office chairs that she had at home and just gave me the opportunity to revamp them in whatever way I so wished. It was just like an open brief. It was just that kind of request, something really small that gave me the spark. And just, I kept going. And I realized after I designed like this cover and stitched it together and then was using rudimentary tools to tack it onto a frame, that like I actually needed and wanted and desired to learn about the craft and trade and art of upholstery. All I'm saying is it just takes the smallest like opportunity. You have to be open to it, and then you just have to throw yourself into it. I mean, at the time when my friend had asked me to do those two chairs, everything else had collapsed. I mean, I had this idea or ambitions of becoming some sort of a fashion designer and coming to London and being the next, I don't know, Bruce Oldfield or Joe Casely Hayford or something. And just being given that opportunity to redirect your skills that you acquire in a different area just opens up a whole new world. So, and that's what I would like recommend to anyone who's thinking about taking this on as a full-time kind of pursuit. You've got to be brave first of all as well.
Definitely a lot of bravery involved, especially when you're publicising your work to 2 million viewers and you've got one shot. And whatever you produce goes on TV.
Sometimes that sort of recognition and that sort of, they liked it. Oh, okay, I'll do more of that. And it gives you a boost. My story's different. I'm not a teacher, never been a teacher. And I worked in fashion for 20 years, and the recession happened in 2008, and I got made redundant. I was fairly senior, so getting another senior job was just impossible, but I tried for about 15, 16 months, and I thought something wasn't working, so the only thing I can change is where I physically live. So I moved from Islington in London to Teddington out in the burbs, and none of my furniture fitted in my new flat. And I was renting, so I gave all that away to a furniture clearance guy, which is the worst thing I ever did. I had a lovely 8-foot-long mint green leather 1970 sofa, and I gave it away for 50 quid. But at the time, I wasn't an upholsterer. I didn't know. I didn't go to the tip. No, he might have taken it to the tip, but no, it was a beauty. And it's the one that got away. And I went and bought a Guy Rogers daybed on eBay for £200, hired a van, went to Essex, picked it up, picked the fabric, sent it to an upholsterer, and the penny just dropped. And I thought, it's going to be really easy. It's just putting fabric on sofas and chairs. I didn't realise everything that goes underneath it. So I typed into Google, how do you become an upholsterer? And the first thing that came up was AMU, the Association of Master Upholsterers. Like, brilliant. 2 courses in the whole of the UK, one in Kendal and one in Cornwall. And they were both 6 hours from where I lived. And I saw the cost, and I was like, and I thought, right, my flat deposit, I'll use a bit of that. And I did. and I've never looked back. And I've now been in business, I'm in my 10th year now.
That's bravery.
And I said yes to everything to start off with, because I learnt on those pieces. But I didn't put them on my social media, and nobody has seen them. And there's still things I do, like I'll still do drop-in dining seat pads in a fabric I don't like, but it won't appear on my Instagram. But actually, it's the bread and butter of paying my workshop rent, and it really helps. And I learnt on all of those pieces, but I just didn't advertise them. And it took me 4 years to define who I was, what my brand was, what I was all about. And I just grew with all of those jobs that I wouldn't ever talk about. And that's when I really knew that I was all about bold, bright prints. They're the things that I really enjoy doing. I don't not enjoy doing the other stuff, but it just doesn't excite me if it's a bland print or a bland fabric. But I also know that any one of those chairs can throw up a problem that I'll learn from. And I've got brave now, and it's only in the last 12 months I've started to say no to certain jobs, because I just know it's going to be a ball ache. But I've done all the ball ache jobs to know it's a ball ache. So now I know I can say no.
There are never enough ball ache jobs.
I know, exactly. So I would say take whatever you can to get you to the next level. And then when you get to the next level, then you can start to say, or you can start to sort of, you know, my customers come to me now because of my Instagram account, because it shows bold, bright colours. So it's flipped the other way now, but there's still the tartans and the creams and the beiges and the greys that I just don't talk about.